Absolutely. All right, Fish. We are live. We're going to gab with comedian and impressionist Scott Record, who is discovered by, get this, Rodney Dangerfield. He started in an Academy Award. I should say he starred in an Academy Award winner too, and he is currently in the Amazon Prime series called Mark's Place. Scott is also a Red Sox fan, so he will have some comments on this past disastrous weekend. Plus, our Schmuck of the Week comes from a college football mountain town, and who's got the swag is a Super Bowl champ with declarative fingers. And there's something fishy about refs and umps this past weekend. We'll get into that. More betting winners on the Daly Fish Hardline. Our guy, John Hardison, had a clean sweep last week. All his betting picks were winners. He will give us more this week. And hi, everybody. Welcome to Daly Fish. John Daly here with Eric Snyder, a.k.a. Fish. We are coast to coast coming to you from Las Vegas and Myrtle Beach. We talk sports, entertainment, and everything in between. Fish, we got more good stuff this week.
We do, and I'm watching the Raider game on Sunday, and all of a sudden my wife goes, "The Golden Knights are on." So the hockey preseason is here already. So Scott's probably got something to say about that, being from Beantown and the Bruins and the Sox and all that crap.
So we got some good stuff. We always said September is just a great month. All right. And October is going to be even better. All right. Time for the daily grind. Here's what we're grinding on first. NFL had a great weekend. What did we learn, Fish?
Well, I'm happy about. I got bragging rights. I'm from Los Angeles, so actually the whole West Coast. The Raiders are 3-0.
Yeah.
The Rams are 3-0. The Chargers are a good 2-1, and the 49ers are respectable 2-1. New York, not Buffalo, but New York. Are you kidding me? I swear to God, our John Hardison, Scott Record, you and myself could beat the Jets. That's how bad they are. Okay. And the Giants are the Giants. They'll find a way to lose. They're 0-6 combined. And fans there are, can you imagine the talk shows back there? They're brutal. That media is brutal in New York. You know that, John, being an East Coast guy. So I learned that the West Coast is dominating in football, and the East Coast is waiting for the Yankees.
Yep. No, absolutely. We're going to get into baseball in a bit. But to me, the Rams, which you mentioned, and the Cowboys, to me, really seem real. I think they're week one aberrations. Cowboys are one. They lost in week one. 49ers, the Ravens, and the Bills, they actually look like the teams that we thought they were going to be.
They do. I mean, the Bills are a very good football team. The Cowboys, right now, Dak Prescott in 3 weeks is a comeback player of the year, and he just means so much to that team. They destroyed Philadelphia last night. It wasn't even a game. And their defense. I always bag on Jerry Jones, John, but their first 6 picks in the draft this year were all defensive players, and they all contributed last night. So I think they're going to win the NFC East by Thanksgiving.
I agree with you. I think they're in. Okay, your Raiders, they're there at 3-0, but oh my God, the stress.
Yeah, I have a cardiology appointment tomorrow. Seriously, I went to the doctor the other day, and he goes, "You still watching the Raiders? How many times are you going to get a John Hardison will talk about this? We're going to get an 11-point lead with 7 minutes to go, and it goes into overtime. I mean, I'm watching with my son, and he's going, "Dad, don't worry." I said, "Nah, relax, But they're 3-0, and they're winning games they would have lost the last 5 years. So that's a positive.
It's a good sign. Hey, rookie QB is having a tough time. So my question to you is it the QB's inexperience, or are they just on lousy teams?
A combination of both. I don't think the Patriots, where Mac Jones is playing, is a lousy team. And no Bill Belichick team's a lousy team. But usually by this time, now Trey Lance is a rookie quarterback that gets, periodic moments with the 49ers. But you're talking about Zach Wilson with the Jets. You're talking about Justin Fields with the Bears, Trevor Lawrence with the Jaguars, and I'm missing one. I've always
Mac Jones. Mac Jones.
What?
Mac Jones.
Yeah, just Mac Jones. What happens? I'm going to give Matt Nagy as an example. He's getting crucified in the media today because if you believe more in your scheme than having a scheme that fits your talent, you're never going to win in this league. And that's what's happening. I'll end it really quick. You always see a quarterback that's a rookie stand out by now. Last year we had 2. And Burrows from Cincinnati and Justin Herbert from the Chargers, right? And Herbert won the Rookie of the Year. This year, I don't see any rookie quarterbacks doing anything, and that's scary.
Yeah, still early, but yeah, I agree with you. They're just not coming through. All right, let's look at our picks. Our picks from last week. You and I stunk. I was 2-3. I did predict Brady and the Buccaneers losing, but you were 1-4, and that's not even with the spread. So let's take a look at this week. We got the Browns at the Vikings. Who do you got?
Wow. That's a tough one, man, because the Vikings they're the best 1 and 2 team. Kirk Cousins has 8 touchdowns and no picks. I'm going to go with the Vikings. I think that game's in Minnesota. I just think that Minnesota right now, they look terrific against Seattle on Sunday. So I'm going to go with the Vikings.
I'm going to go with the Vikings as well. All right, Carolina at Dallas. I'm going to go with the Cowboys. I think they're on a roll.
I am too. I like Carolina, another good 3-0 team, top 5 defense rather. But again, Christian McCaffrey can't stay healthy. He's out for this game, and he missed 11 games last year. He can miss 3 or 4 games this year. He's a huge part of their offense. I like Dallas.
Okay, that's going to be a great game. Here's another great game. Cardinals at the Rams. Who do you got?
Well, I got to go against you, so I'm going to take the Cardinals. I just think that this is the team that sometimes has destiny on its side, and I love the way Kyler Murray's playing, so I'll go with the Cardinals.
I think this is going to be a toss-up. I can go either way on this one. All right, Seahawks at the 49ers. Who do you got?
Wow. The Seahawks are in trouble. They don't want to go 1 and 3 in that division. So, and the 49ers are coming up. What a tough loss the 49ers had. What a great game that was against Green Bay. Did you see that one Sunday night?
That was a great game. Great comeback, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just you don't leave Rodgers with 37 seconds. That's him, Brady, a few quarterbacks. I'm going to go with the 49ers in this one, John.
I'm going with the 49ers as well. All right. Ravens at the Broncos. I got the Broncos in this one, even though I think the Ravens are looking pretty good, but I'm going to go with the Broncos. How about you?
I'm going against you. I look, the Broncos are 3-0, but they've beaten the 3 teams they've beaten are 0-9 with Jacksonville, the Giants, and the Jets. Good for them. You should win those games. I like Baltimore.
Okay. I'm just hoping Mile High is going to help them. All right. Let's move on to MLB. By this time next week, when we go live here, the wild card games will begin. Fish. It's definitely going to be the Dodgers and the Cards in the National League. The Cards, they should clinch tonight. They are on a 16-game win streak. Who do you have in the National League?
I picked the Dodgers to go to the World Series, so I picked in the Dodgers. It's a 1-game series. We talked about this 3 times in the 23 shows, our 23rd show, that I think it's horrible. It kills baseball of a 1-game playoff after playing 162. It's blasphemous for the sport. I'm taking the Dodgers. They'll pitch Kershaw. They'll pitch Buehler. They'll pitch everyone in that game. I mean, the Cardinals are hot right now. They don't have it.
I got to tell you, the more I'm looking at the Cardinals, all of a sudden everything is coming together. I'm actually going to pick the Cardinals in this, and I'm going to go against my preseason World Series pick of the Dodgers. So I'm kind of hedging my bet here. Hardison would like that. All right, Fish, who do you have in the American League?
Wow. I mean, it's just a toss-up. You're right. You got the Blue Jays and Mariners still in this. I still think it's going to be the Yankees and the Red Sox. And if it's the Yankees and the Red Sox, how much you want to bet that's the highest-rated baseball game watched this year other than the Home Run Derby? Okay, it brings back memories. I could talk to Scott Record about it. 1978, Bucky Dent against Mike Torres. You don't want to see that happen. I don't know what. I mean, I picked the Yankees to go, but I wouldn't be shocked. I can't give you. I won't be shocked. Whoever wins this game, I wouldn't be shocked. I like the Yankees, but if the Red Sox win, it's a rivalry.
All right. Here's what I'm predicting. I'm predicting a 4-game wild card with the Yankees, the Sox, the Blue Jays, and the Mariners. It will be a 4-team single elimination tournament for the first time. What do you think of that? That would be cool, huh?
That'd be great. It'd be great for the sport, but unfortunately, baseball doesn't market itself well, and I'm a big advocate of putting all your games in the midweek. Stay away from Sunday and Monday if you're baseball, because people are watching the Green Bay Packers and 49ers over any baseball game. Baseball advocates, they don't want to get that in their head, but it's true.
Yep, I agree. All right, finally on the grind, the Ryder Cup. Hey, Fish, we got this one right. What a thumping by the U.S., 19-9. The Euros, they definitely look like they're aging, and their youngsters didn't step up. Kudos, though, to John Rahm. He was incredible. Hats off to DJ for going 5-0. The question is this the changing of the guard in the Ryder Cup? Maybe, but let's wait until 2023, Fish, when the U.S. team has to go to Italy, and you and I should be there live, don't you think, in 2 years?
Yeah. Okay, I'm in. I go to Italy. I have Italian roots in me somewhere. I'll definitely go to Italy. But what it was is we predicted last week that the U.S. would win, both of us, but we didn't think it would be a slaughterhouse like it was. And DeChambeau's was a 475 shot off the tee, was huge. Speed played well. Everyone on that team came together, and 2023, who knows? Maybe a guy named Tiger Woods is eligible to play, and he's still got something left in him. You don't know. Maybe Mickelson. How old will Mickelson be at the time? 55.
Mickelson will be 55. Yeah, he would be the oldest to play if he does hit it then. But yeah, you're right. I think all the factors we talked about. I think one of the biggest ones we probably underplayed was the fact that Europeans had no fans there because people couldn't travel because of the COVID. And, those guys are really emotional with each other afterwards. I mean, I thought, they really care about the Ryder Cup, and they realized how bad they were, how alone they were. Yet at the same time, too, I thought the sportsmanship was actually pretty good, despite a couple of things there about not giving putts and stuff like that. But still, I thought it was great. I watched almost the whole thing.
I know you did. I watched it. Saturday was great. I was going back between, we're talking on the phone, going back between Wisconsin and Notre Dame and the Ryder Cup and other games. It's a great sports day. But you said they were all alone. So do you think they need a hug or something like that? That's how emotional it was?
Oh, yeah. Europeans, they love to be hugged. So, yeah. If you see a European that's a golfer, go up and hug him. Yeah.
Okay. They need sensitivity training. We'll get the Scott record on that one. I don't know.
All right, folks. And that is the Daily Grind. Questions or comments during the live show, use the chat box here or email us at dalyfish1, dalyfish1@gmail.com. You can post to Facebook at daily.fish.5. Better yet, record yourself, short, tight, and horizontal on your smartphone and send it to dalyfish1@gmail.com. All right, time now for some binge watching. Fish, what you binging on?
Okay, I'm going to give you a tease on this one. This one's called Sex Education on Netflix. Gillian Anderson, you remember her from the X-Files?
Absolutely.
Scully?
Yep.
She plays a sex therapist, a single mom in a small town called Moordale in England, and her son's a chronic masturbator. Sort of like my life growing up. But I'll tell you what, it's so dramatic and comedic, and the way it's about most of the kids in this high school and how they treat subjects like, lesbians and gays and gender. They're not like us. They're so, appreciative of everything you do for them. And the bottom line is this show has won many BAFTA awards, including a lot of the actresses on this show. So I'll tell you what, it's one of the best shows I've ever binged. I loved it so much that two episodes into the third season, Netflix gave it a fourth and the fifth season. So it's worth watching. It's not what I kind of teased it with. It's really dramatic and it's touching.
Okay, very good. You know what Woody Allen said about masturbation? That's doing it with somebody I love. Anyway, here's what I'm binging on. It's called Clickbait. A family man is abducted, and it has a very strange online twist. It seems intriguing with really some twist of social media. Again, I'm just starting it. Everything I'm reading about it, people who have seen it have said to me, you got to watch this. So that's called Clickbait. All right. Yeah. Something fishy. Fishy, what is going on that's fishy that you need to talk about?
I'll leave my glasses on for this one. It's about apologies. Okay. I'll ask Hardline Hardison this one. Could you imagine John Hardison, John Daly, and Eric Snyder, a.k.a. Fish, sitting in that stadium in Detroit when Justin Tucker kicks a 66-yard field goal to beat you? You played your heart out. Jared Goff is quietly having a good season. They should have won that game, but the Lions are the Lions, and bad teams find a way to lose. So the NFL sends – I love this guy. I love Dan Campbell, the head coach of the Detroit Lions. They send what's called an apology. 12 minutes after the game, the guy's not even in the locker room giving his press conference. The NFL sends an apology saying, we missed a call of delay a game against the Ravens. And it was 3 seconds after the ball should have been snapped. It was snapped, right? So Dan Campbell says, F the NFL. I'm not going to say the word. F Roger Goodell. What's an apology mean? And I'm taking it a step further. You hear apologies all the time. The Raiders got an apology for the tuck rule, okay? I mean, what's an apology mean? If your brother sleeps with your wife and he says, I'm sorry, he still slept with your wife, okay? I mean, I don't get it. Apologies mean nothing. If they're not going to be played to play again. If you want to make an apology in sports, don't do it. It's better to say nothing.
You know, I agree. And I saw the same thing in Boston this past weekend. The soon-to-retire ump, Joe West, called a foul tip when the Red Sox catcher Christian Vasquez clearly caught the third strike, but when he was transferring the ball to his hand to throw back to the pitcher, it fell. And they called it a foul tip. Instead of strike three, Aaron Judge took the next pitch and cleared the bases to beat the Red Sox. And there was no replay, nothing on it. And so you're starting to see that stuff. So that's an angry Red Sox fan. I'm sure Scott's going to have something to say about that as well.
John, can I add something?
Absolutely.
I started watching Clickbait also. It's fantastic. Adrian Grenier stars in that. He was the lead in Entourage. And everyone says, what happened to this guy? He was terrific. He was up for Emmy Awards. You got to watch Clickbait. John's on that one.
Yeah, definitely. All right, cool. Very good. All right, still ahead, our Schmuck of the Week, along with Who's Got the Swag. But it's time now for the Daly Fish Hardline. Joining us is John Hardison from the Cost of Winning podcast, focusing on betting and fantasy sports. John, welcome. Boy, what a week you had. The 6 bets you gave us last week, they all won. Great job.
Hey, I appreciate it. You know, you just try to do as much research as you can.
Well, obviously
you're good. You're on the show for a reason. Your research is great. I go, God, this guy's spot on. I mean, the one thing that really impressed me is you didn't pick the USC Oregon State game. You went with the over and the under. You know, because I know I would have picked SC to win that game, even money line. Come up that Stanford loss. SC doesn't lose 2 games in a row at home. They got killed 45-24 by Oregon State, and you called it.
It was a rough game to watch. I mean, they could not keep up with the tempo or pace at all. No. Oregon State, and that's a team to watch out for. Oregon State is a very fast-paced, very high-scoring team, and they've got a good shot in the Pac-12. I mean, the Pac-12 really is wide open, even though UCLA is quietly keeping pace. That's a team definitely to watch out for.
That's going to be good. All right, John, let's get into this week's game. We'll start with college first. You got Baylor at Oklahoma State.
Yeah, so Baylor is actually 4-0 right now. They're sitting at the top of the Big 12, what's left of the Big 12 as of right now. I really like them. They are plus 3.5, plus 150. I like them at plus 3.5. I just think that they're a really strong team. Offensively, I think that they push the pace, they push the tempo. Oklahoma State has a good defense, a really good defense. I would try to stay away from the over-under on this game. I would take Baylor at 3.5.
Okay, it's a good one. I mean, you never hear about Indiana in football, but they're going into Penn State, and what do you think?
I think it's Penn State's, unless something catastrophic happens, it's Penn State's to lose. Penn State has had solid wins this year against Wisconsin and Auburn, and I mean, if anybody saw that game against Wisconsin, they dominated from beginning to end. They run the ball, they run hard, they're aggressive. Their defense is very aggressive on this throughout it all. I would take Penn State money line. If you're going to take the over-under, take the under. And the only reason I say the under is because they're a run-heavy, dominant team. So they're going to eat as much clock as they possibly can.
All right, one more college game. Notre Dame hosts Cincinnati. This could be one of the better games of the week.
Yeah, so this is one of the better games of the week. Notre Dame, they've gotten off to a very slow start. We saw the bit of a catastrophe, but they pulled it out at Florida State at the beginning of the year. They barely lost to Toledo, but they beat Wisconsin last week. I see that they're starting to pick up pace. They've got the winningest coach in program history with them now. So I think that they're better. Looking at Cincinnati, they've played a couple good teams here and there, pretty decent. But at the end of the day, I think it's Notre Dame, hands down. I'm taking the money line, and you get to book it on the +2 as well.
No, +2 is Cincinnati's a good team. They're a good football team, but Notre Dame's got a tough schedule. I mean, they're always playing teams in the top 10 almost every week. They have to. Let's go to the NFL. The Carolina Panthers surprise 3-0 at the Dallas Cowboys.
You got to take the Cowboys in this game. I even like the Cowboys even on the points of -5. I just think that Carolina without Christian McCaffrey, I like Sam Darnold, but from what I saw the last game against the Houston Texans, it was a lot of quarterback runs, a lot of him trying to just use his legs for as much as he can. And Dallas has a pretty decent run defense. I mean, you look at what they did yesterday on Monday against Miles Sanders, against what they did against Jalen Hurts. I just think that they finally are starting to be the Cowboys that we've known in the past. They're not there yet, but they're getting there. So I'm taking Cowboys -5.
All right. Lions head to Chicago after that devastating loss. Who do you got there?
It's such a Lions way to lose. It's really a Lions way to lose.
You poor bastard. I thought about you. I was going to text you.
Wow. I watched that game and I saw the delay of game and I said, they're not going to call it. And then they get close enough to field goal range. And I turned to my wife and I told her, I said, we're going to lose this game. I said, if anybody's going to hit a 66-yard field goal, it's the greatest kicker in modern history, Justin Tucker. And sure enough, it just points. And I say, yep, it's got to be good. And sure enough, That's just such a Lions way to lose. I got to take. I'm taking the Lions actually this week. I'm taking a +3. When your head coach says that all three quarterbacks for the Chicago Bears can play, and that doesn't give a lot of confidence. When you're saying Andy Dalton, Justin Fields, or Nick Foles, it's anyone that can start. It's hard for me to trust that team. And if you look at the Lions, they lost to the Ravens by 2. They kept pace with the Green Bay Packers in the first half, 17-14 going into halftime. And then they came back a little bit against San Francisco. And those are 3 teams that we've all talked about. One was in the NFC Championship game last year. One was in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. And one should be in the AFC Championship game this year. And to keep pace with those 2 teams, I just think that they're overall, it's going to be the Lions +3, at least to keep pace with Chicago.
All right, with the Thursday night game, the Bengals could be 3-1. They're hosting the great Jacksonville Jaguars. The matchup of the number ones, Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow.
You got to go with the Bengals on this. I mean, they are just dynamic right now. Joe Mixon is actually the number 2 rushing running back in the league right now, which is a little bit surprising because he gets off to a slow start. But when you look at, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Joe Mixon, Tyler Boyd, they've got so much offense there that they're generating. It's hard for me to look at a team that just got decimated by second string running back James Conner for the Cardinals to just run past them. They are struggling right now, and they're basically fighting the Jets for who's going to get number 1 overall in this year's draft.
All right, perfect.
What do you think about that, real quick, John? What do you think about the Urban Meyer? Do you think he's going to stick it out? Because there are a lot of rumors that he's one and done. He can't stand pro football already.
I think he'll stick it out because of the money, at least for right now. I think depending on what the dynamic is between him and Shad Khan in terms of him being able to pick the players that he wants, he'll probably stay another year. I do believe, though, if they win less than 5 games out of 17, I think USC is really knocking. And one thing I'll say about that, especially USC, you haven't heard them really do an in-depth coaching search right now. So it could be behind scenes that they're talking to Urban Meyer, trying to see if, look, is he wanting to move to California? Because I'll tell you right now, if Urban Meyer says, I'm going to go and be the next head coach of USC, give them 3 to 4 years, they're going to be in the BCS National Championship game. He's got too much of a proven track record. He's coached Heisman Trophy winners. He's won multiple national championships for kids not to say that's the guy I want to play for. It's him, Nick Saban, Dabo Swinney, and to a certain degree, Brian Kelly and James Franklin. Those are basically your 5.
All right. Makes sense. All right. That is the Daly Fish Hardline with John Hardison of the Cost of Winning podcast. You can find him here with us every Tuesday, but also on Spotify, Google, and Apple podcasts as well. John, thanks. We'll see you next week. Hopefully you're going to go 6-0.
See you guys next week, and thanks for having me again. Go Lions.
All right. This is Daly Fish Live. We are here on Facebook Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We are on DBNA television on Roku, Amazon Fire, and soon Apple TV. We stream 24/7 on the DBNA television website. Follow us and like us on Facebook at daily.fish.5. You can also catch us on the Myrtle Beach Golf Channel and subscribe on YouTube. All right, time now for our Schmuck of the Week. Who's been schmucky this week, Fish?
How many times have I talked about this? This is the Appalachian State football team. They beat Marshall the other night, 31-30. And the excessive taunting, it wasn't by the players, it was by the fans as the Marshall team is leaving the stadium, John. It's happening too much now. It's paramount that the ADs and their stadium staff and security make people like this pay for their actions. Again, 95% of the fans are incredible, but it's 5% of every fan base can ruin an experience. You have to hold them accountable. The idiots were shouting the N-word, talking about I don't care talking about their mothers, but saying things what they're going to do to their butts. I mean, but basically, John, this shit has to stop. It's not a good look. No, too much anger out there. You don't need to be doing that. That's for sure. All right, who's got swag? Who are we celebrating? Who are we toasting this week, Fish? You'd never see this. You love this. This is your guy. You love this guy. Guess who this is? That's Eli Manning last night. He was talking about the Philadelphia fan base. He was talking about what it was like. And he said, wait a minute. When you go to Philly, quote, you're getting a double bird from a 9-year-old. Why can't I do this? You know, I mean, that's great. Eli Manning's flipping off. There's so many things with the Philadelphia fan base. You know what, Eli? You're such a straight shooter. You and your brother probably, never had a drink until you're 25. And to do that on national TV, swag.
I gotta love it. All right, and now we have our drink of the week. We are going to toast Eli Fish. What are we sipping here?
This is the mojito. What do you got? You got it too?
I got one too. And guess what we're going to do? To mix one up for us is our guest, comedian and singer impressionist Scott Record. He is coming to us from Austin, Texas. Scott, welcome to Daly Fish. We hear you have the perfect mojito.
I do. I have it right here. But am I the schmuck of the week?
Not yet.
No, I am every week.
I used to work in the Catskills, when I started out, and it was a big Jewish community. And I heard this lady say to her husband, Jaime, you are such a schmuck. If they had a schmuck contest in the world, you'd come in second. And he said, why? She said, because you're such a schmuck. Anyway,
I love
it. You want the mojito real quick?
Yeah. Show us your mojito.
Oh, yours looks good. Well, mine isn't made. I'm going to make it really, really fast, okay?
Okay.
So took a lime. Let me see if I can get into the. Here we go.
Mm-hmm.
The lime. This is the size that I cut it into. There we go.
Nice.
So I'm gonna
good half size. Good fan.
Half circles, and I got about 5 of those pieces going into this shaker with no ice. And then I have spearmint that is all chopped up real good and quite a bit because I like the taste of spearmint. Then I put in 1.5 ounces, 1.75 ounces, 2 ounces, whatever, of rum. Ta-da! And it's the glass. I don't know if you can read the glass, but it's Jamie Farr LPGA Toledo Classic.
Ah, nice.
Years back.
Linger.
And then you take sugar. I have turbinado sugar. Put that in.
Ooh.
And then I have ta-da! There is the Muller. The Muller goes in.
Oh,
You
yeah.
scrape it up, get it, take the lime, get it all done in there with the mint, with the sugar, and with the rum. Now that's in there. Take some ice, throw some ice in. This is a shaker. So what we're going to do, ice all over the floor. Doesn't matter. This is my room. It goes there like this. Shaker. This is not taken. I don't want to waste too much more time. It's all shaken up.
No, it's good.
In here we have lime. Yep, that's awful good. It's very, very good. So now, in the glass we're going to drink out of, I don't know if you can see that either, but that is an AT&T Pebble 1996.
Cool. That probably was Tiger's first Pebble Beach.
Pardon me?
Might have been Tiger's first Pebble Beach.
I've got a little club soda that I make myself, which I love at home. Take that, put it in the shaker, because you don't want to miss anything.
Nope.
So it goes on the top. Gentlemen, salud. A mojito
Salud.
is a Spanish word. It's a Cuban word that means, get me off this island! But, cheers.
Hey, Scott, as they say in the Catskills, l'chaim.
Beautiful. All right, before we gab with Scott, let's take care of some sponsors. Daily Fish Drink of the Week is sponsored by Shucks Tavern in Vegas. Great seafood and drinks in 2 locations. Head to Shucks Tavern on North Durango in the northwest side of town where fish is overnight. Say Daily Fish Podcast, you get a free drink. Do it the next day, a free appetizer. That's Shucks Tavern. Check out Shucks Tavern on Facebook. And if fish can't relieve your pain in Vegas, go to MedSonics. The sound wave technology relieves pain and inflammation. It's non-invasive. You sit there for 25 minutes and relax. I've used it. It works. Plus, it helps with jet lag. The technology will soon be all over the country. Go to medsonics.com, spelled MEDSONIX.com. Al's the inventor owner. Tell him Daily Fish sent you. All right, again, our guest is Scott Record, comedian and singer impressionist. He is currently in the Amazon Prime comedy Mark's Place. You can check out where he is going to be next at scottrecord.com. Scott, again, great to have you on board. And, folks probably know you're from Middleborough, Massachusetts, which makes you a celebrated masshole. Is that a good way to describe you?
I love it.
Asshole. Anybody that knows Massachusetts, Middleborough is, if you go direct line from Boston to Cape Cod, Middleborough's right in the middle. So Middleborough is where everybody stops to pee on the way to the Cape on weekends. That's Middleborough.
Talk about peeing. What do you think about the Red Sox this past weekend when the Yankees came and blasted them?
Wow. That one play you were talking about, and when Aaron took it out of the ballpark at the end, it was meant to be, because the team's just not the team it used to be. I think I told you in an email, I go back so far. When I was young, very young, like 12 years old, I caddied for Ted Williams. I caddied about a dozen times for Ted Williams. Growing up in Middleborough, next time was Lakeville, and that's where they had the Ted Williams camp in the summertime. It was a baseball camp. And anybody that could go to it would go to it because Ted Williams was there. And so he would golf at a place called Pecoy Brook. That's where I caddied. I caddied for him a bunch of times.
Wow. Well, let's shift sports. How are you with Brady coming back with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers playing in Foxborough this Sunday night against the Patriots? Are you a Brady guy or are you still a Patriot?
I'll watch. It's all because whatever he does, I know that I love watching him play football because I know his wife is home alone.
Wow. Yeah.
I did a
fundraiser on that one, buddy. Fund. I wish I could be there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you live in Austin, Texas. I see that Longhorn. I see the Longhorn plaque behind you. That's my alma mater.
Yes.
What's it like being there now? I was there in the late 70s, early 80s. The metropolitan part of that city is nothing I'm not used to. Is it still a big University of Texas town football, or is it just so?
No, that's the whole thing. That's what everything's built around. And like my friend calls this past weekend and says, "How is Austin different?" I said, "Well, the only thing is UT's football team is approaching 3 figures rapidly. What did they get? 70 points this past weekend? That was insane. I love to see the Casey Thompson is a great player, but you got to put him against a team that will be competition so we can really find out what this kid can do, because that was insane. That was crazy."
You like Hudson Cart? You like the freshman? Hudson Cart? From Austin?
Yeah, I like the whole thing. The program.
Yeah.
I like the coach. I think he's a good guy, and I think he's boy, they put the reins on you. People in Texas ride horses, but the coaches down here, they put the reins on you. And you just better be going in the right direction when they're holding those reins. When I went to UMass myself, and actually one of my roommates was Rick Pitino, if you remember that name.
No kidding.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sure.
Freshman thing. And he wanted to be like a Maravich, and he was a ball handler. And the coach didn't want that, so he never played. But, of course, he went on to be a good coach, a wonderful coach.
Well, one thing about Steve Sarkisian, he's never going to have a drink with us on here, but you know what? He is a tremendous recruiter, tremendous. And he was Pete Carroll's top recruiter at USC, along with Lane Kiffin and Ed Ogeron, who's a head coach at LSU, and Kiffin's over at Mississippi. None of why Pete Carroll and SC won. I'm predicting a lot of success for the University of Texas with this guy.
Well, I think they have it together. They have a lot of there's a lot of enthusiasm, and there's a lot of strength and power and support, but there's a lot of intellect and smart and people that have done things in the past that will guide things properly into the future. Seems to me.
Scott, what do you think about the Longhorns going into the Southeast Conference?
I don't know much about that. I don't watch as much sports as you guys do, and I'm not quite up on that. But if I don't have an answer for that. They have Oklahoma
are leaving, and they're going into the Southeast Conference in 2025. We got a few years, but that's a big story, and I know you're going to have Alabama coming to Texas, so that's going to be, forget it. It's going to be huge.
That would be huge. Yeah, it would. Well, I'll watch. I hope I'm around to see this. 2025. Wasn't there an old song about that?
In the year
25, yeah. It's close,
So,
yeah.
so tell us, we're going to change gears. Tell us about Mark's Place. You're playing the mayor. Any mayor that you're ghosting?
No, I am the mayor that they created, and his name is Conrad Bixby, the mayor of Palm Springs. Mark's Place is about a guy from Chicago that he got in with the mob and he got caught, so he's in the witness protection program, and they put him in Palm Springs. Changed his name to Mark Murphy, and he's an Italian guy now, Mike Murphy, and they gave him an Irish pub to run, so that's Mark's Place. And so when I show up as the mayor, my friends say, "What's the mayor like?" I go, "Well, Conrad Bixby makes $30,000 a year. He owns a Gulfstream plane. He drives a 2-seater Bentley convertible. He's got a trophy wife, and he takes briefcase full of $100 bills." And my friend said, "Oh, he's like a real politician." And I said, "Yeah, actually, that's right."
Sounds like Tom Brady. Everything he just said, trophy wife. Wait a minute. So one thing I have a problem with is when you go into witness protection, and Italian roots will tell you this, you usually go to places in the outskirts of Idaho or New Mexico. You don't go to Palm Springs. Everyone goes to Palm Springs. You opened for Sinatra. Sinatra was huge in Palm Springs. That doesn't work. I'm going to watch the show. I love it. But Palm Springs is witness protection? Come on.
Palm Springs has a lot of Italian history. That's just something to look up. That's all.
Yep. All right. Hey, you were in an Oscar-winning short called Sunday in New York. Speaking of mayors, with Mayor Ed Koch, the former mayor, the late mayor, and you did all the other voices. What was it like working with Ed Koch?
Well, because of that little movie, it was only like a 1-minute short clay animated movie, and we beat Disney for the Academy Award. But I had Koch's voice down. In the 80s, Mayor Koch was like world known. And as the mayor of New York City, he would come out and say, "How am I doing?" That was his byline. And so he had this little whiny voice, and I had it down. Because of the movie, I ended up doing, he would do speeches, and I would do 10 minutes in front of him. I do my New York voices like Rodney, Yeah, I'll tell you, right? It's rough, I had a rough day. I put my shirt on. The button fell off. I picked up my briefcase, the handle fell. I'm afraid to go to the bathroom. Ooh, Rodney, the other people. Mayor Koch had,
Well, you do a lot of
my wife and I. What's that?
No, go ahead.
Sorry.
You go. Go ahead.
Oh, I said one of the greatest was Mayor Koch invited us up to Gracie Mansion, and we had dinner, just him and me and my wife, and the cook in Gracie Mansion in New York City one night. That was really pretty special.
What was the conversation like?
He was very personable. He was very social. We talked. He wanted to know about our daughters. He wanted to know about our life. We asked him, "What do you do? I mean, like this place, you just walk around this place like it's like a big vacant warehouse. I mean, I always find things to do." He had our time schedule was an hour and a half. We had an hour and a half dinner, and it was scheduled. When we were done, somebody came, brought him a coat. He got in a limo. He had something to do, and that's all that he did. He was I thought he was a good mayor for New York City because he represented the city. He was visible. And people liked him, unlike the gentleman that just left that position. Ed Koch was a very likable guy.
Sure. Yeah, he cleaned that city up. I mean, if you ever watch that show on HBO, The Deuce, he's a mayor they're talking about that took Times Square and completely cleaned it up and made it into a really civilized place. So you do a lot of impressions. What's the best impression you think you do of someone?
Well, it's weird because I do singing impressions, so I'll work with a 9-piece band behind me, and I'll close the show with all the voices in "We Are the World." Or when I do Sinatra, it's a little gimmick thing where there's a skip in the record and it's written into the chart, and the guys are singing with me. But I don't know if I have a best voice. I don't think of it that way. It's like, what's the best? I just want to see. It's funny. My credo is I don't do anything really dirty, and I don't do anything political. And I've worked forever, and that's why I just want to entertain people. You come in, I will entertain you for an hour. I'll take you away from your life for an hour, You can forget your woes and your troubles, and then you'll be happy for like 1 hour. That's it. I don't have to get the politics. Politics and comedy has just, it's ruined comedy. I think it's ruined comedy.
Absolutely. Yeah. And a lot of people, and, comedians can't go to college campuses anymore and do their shtick. Let me ask you this. Impressionist Rich Little, he lived in Vegas for a long time, and I met him a couple of times, interviewed him there when I was a news anchor. Is there camaraderie in the Impressionist comedy field? I mean, do you know someone like him that you kind of root for, or is there competition?
No, I don't see it's competition, and some people did in the past, other guys, but I was friends with Fred Travellina. I think that, I think that there's still a show at the Tropicana with, who were you just speaking? What was his name? I forget.
About Rich Little?
Rich has a show, I think, at the Tropicana.
Yeah.
Still, like an early show every night, which is amazing because he's no kid. And then there were like the guy that played Batman, who was the Joker on Batman. He was an excellent impressionist. But there's not a weekend with a bunch of impressionists talking to each other. It doesn't work that way. But if we ever show up in an event together, there was a bit of a camaraderie there. Yeah.
Were you ever influenced by Vaughn Meader at all back in the early 60s?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was he did the president.
He did JFK.
And like I say, he was, he's the JFK thing. And he's passed, but he had a second career. And he became a very successful country western singer, music. He played piano and he put a cowboy hat on. And he sang country music, and pretty cool.
Wow, I didn't realize that. Cool.
I did like 200 episodes of a show that was called. It was a cartoon show where they beat the crap out of each other every week, and I would do voices. God, I can't think of
Tom and Jerry.
And pardon me?
Was it Tom and Jerry?
No. This was from the 80s and 90s. Look, that's.
There goes the mojito.
Fumble.
There we go.
You're right. You're in.
So I did all these voices. It was Ted Kennedy, which was crazy. A lot of different voices.
You're looking at one of the biggest fans of Frank Sinatra, and you opened for Old Blue Eyes. Talk to us about that. Did you have any? Did you mingle with him a lot? What was he like, and what was like opening for him?
Well, you had to do 19 minutes, and if you did 20, he would physically come out and take you off stage and throw you off the stage. So you knew to do 19 minutes, and that was it. A lot of the things that we did like I did the Bob Hope thing with him. I did Dinah's my first show at Dinah Shore. She always had wonderful many entertainers on there. She had Bob Hope, Gatlin Brothers, Andy Williams, was all these people. And then here's my friend Mr. Frank Sinatra, and you start hearing, "I've got you under my skin," and I said, "I'm not going on." She went through her myriad of her friends, and then when Frank sang four songs, and then she comes out and she says, she runs out to the dressing room. She goes, "Okay, go on and finish the show and do 20 minutes." And I went, "What are you doing to me?" She says, "I know what I'm doing to you." And it was the greatest 20 minutes of my life.
Wow.
Sinatra actually watched it. And that's how I ended up working with him, because he would call me in to do occasional, whatever kind of an event it was. It was really very, very cool. But probably one special one was Anne Margaret for 10 years. I opened for her for 10 years. Her husband was Roger Smith from 77 Sunset Strip.
Mm-hmm.
And so my first job was in Sun City, which was Southern Africa, not South Africa, Southern Africa.
Wow.
And we performed for 2 weeks down there. And it was great. And then after weeks and months and even years, maybe in the second year, we were in Vegas at Caesars, and I'm in their suite. And I said, "Roger, how'd you pick me?" And he said, "Well, William Morris gave us about 20 videotapes, and we looked at it, and I liked yours, and I chose yours." And I said, So why did you take me to South Africa for like the first time? He says, well, actually, he says, if you sucked, then nobody would have ever known. I said, oh, that's very honest. He was a very honest guy. I thought that was very cool of him.
Wow.
Worked out.
I got to tell you, Ann Margaret was, as a kid growing up, was one of my crushes, man. I would have done anything to have seen Ann Margaret perform. And she seemed like she was actually, she was a tough woman as well as being very talented.
Oh, she had it all. She has it all. I saw her just before the pandemic. The year before we buried Roger, so I went out and was a part of that whole thing. But she's still a gorgeous, dominant, sexy, smart, everything. She's a really special person.
Cool.
Very special.
Very, yeah. I get you, John. I had it was her and it was Raquel Welch. Those are the two that I had a crush on as a kid. They're still beautiful. So Sophia Loren. Now, Rodney Dangerfield, you did an impression of him. He discovered you. Tell us about that.
I was a bouncer across the street from his club in New York at Adam's Apple, it was called. And but I was also performing, so I was downtown performing at a place called 31st and 3rd. It was called Good Times. And one of the comics said, I'm going to take you up. Come and do 10 minutes up at Rodney's club. And I did 10 minutes at Dangerfield's. And he happened to be there. And I met him at the bar. He says, you going to be here tomorrow night? I went, yeah. He says, well, come on. I want to see you. So I came in and I did some stuff. And then 2 weeks after that, he took me on the road. And it was for 3 years. It was as simple as that. And it was very cool. It was very good. Wow. Rodney was very special. Rodney was exactly what you saw. That was not a character. That was not an act he was putting on. The sweat, it's rough, It was always doing this, And he was a real character. But if you got accepted inside the inner circle, it was a great place to be.
Wow. This is Daly Fish. We're talking to comedian and singer-impressionist Scott Record. He is currently in the Amazon Prime comedy called Mark's Place. His website is scottrecord.com. So, Scott, you played in a lot of celebrity golf events. You've been at some of the good ones. Talk about how you get in there, because you get in there performing and then playing, because you're a pretty good stick, aren't you?
Well, yeah, I can do okay. I used to be good. Used to be about a 6. I'm probably closer to a 12, but it would be like every year you do you go to the Phoenix Open, and then you go to Houston, and you go to Doral, and you do this, and those are it was like one right after the other, almost 2.5 months. And my wife says, you haven't really done a paid show in like 2.5 months. I says, hon, this is business. This is business. Golf every day. It's very tough. It's not easy. But it did promote a lot of corporate work, which I thought was great.
Right. I'm a big fan of comedians. I like watching comedians on Netflix and all these HBO specials. I'm a big fan of Sebastian Maniscalco. You familiar with that guy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Who's your favorite?
I was working down at the Borgata. Well, I just lost my favorite, I'm sorry to say. Norm Macdonald was a dear friend. I thought one of the greatest comedians that we had out. He was just brilliant and smart and everything. And I did not know that he was ill. And I was kind of close with him. And he didn't want anybody to know that he was ill. And he was ill for like the last 9 years. But very good. Sebastian is great. I was in Atlantic City at the Borgata, and then he was the next night. And I went to see his show. And I mean, all of New Jersey was there to see him because he's Italian. He's from New Jersey. And all he talks about is Italians at home in New Jersey. And that's exactly, his act is perfect. So, yeah, he's strong. There's people, my daughter works at Stand Up New York in New York City. She'll be a waitress, barmaid, bartender, and then she'll get up and do some comedy herself. But she says there's 20 people. She names 20 people I've never even heard about, and they're just top of the line, wonderful people that are great comedians. And she says everybody's not dirty anymore, Dad. I said, really? She said, no, it's not filthy. They're all smart. I said, good. Next time I go to New York, I'll go to her club, Stand Up New York, and check it out, because The spectrum
Scott,
has
one of
to
my
be
favorite-
a little bit.
I got to ask you something. One of my favorite shows that was on Showtime, and unfortunately, only a 2-year run, was called "I'm Dying Up Here," which is basically a takeoff of the Comedy Store in LA. And Melissa Leo was great in it. It's about comics in the 70s trying to get their start. Richard Pryor character was in it. Do you remember those days? Did you do stand up back then in the 70s? Because it was such a different aura and karma back then of comedy clubs. I remember LA, it was the Improv, the Laugh Factory, the Comedy Store. This is where you went on a date those times at night. And they were always packed, and it was always good young comedians.
The thing is, I've never been in the stand-up comedy realm. I like doing singing impressions and working with a band and stuff like that. So that took me off into a different direction. I'd be opening for Perry Como. I'd be opening for Ray Charles. I'd be opening for Rodney Sinatra, Ann Margaret. And then when Atlantic City started, I was there. I lived in New York City, so went down to Atlantic City. And every month I was working with someone new. And at that time, we had stars. Like there was Robert Goulet and Anthony Newley and Captain and Tennille and David Brenner and people like that. So I could open for them. Now there's like no one like of that anymore. You can't be an opening act because there's no one to open for. All those stars are gone. And if there are stars, put stars together. They had Engelbert and Tom Jones together recently in Las Vegas. Now they both have their own calling and followers and stuff like that, but they're older and their people died out. To get the room full, you got to put them both together. I used to make a joke because some acts have died and half of acts have died and half acts around. I said, I said I went out to Vegas and I was looking around and I said the only show that I could go to was Siegfried and the Righteous Brother. So
I can imagine with Engelbert and Tom Jones. Are there a lot of old ladies throwing their underwear still at them?
Probably. You might the pens flying up.
So Scott, I would imagine the COVID kind of hit your performance scene pretty hard. Are you up for some things? You got some things coming up?
Well, it's just started to come back. I mean, to get calls, to get possibilities is just starting to happen. So there's like everything was ended. There were no casinos, there were no ships, there were no corporate dates, no theaters, no tours, nothing. I mean, it was over. So now the ships are coming back kind of reluctantly and they're taking their taste. I've been offered a residency on a ship. So it's something that I'm carefully considering at the moment, but it would be like a 5-month run. And it's something I would probably accept because I just haven't been doing enough to keep me going. And if I was there, then I'd have a 9-piece band with me and I could practice and do all new material and bring everything up to date. And it could be good in many different ways. I talked yesterday morning with the CEO at Fantasy Springs Casino in India. And I used to do many of their preferred gambler parties. Now he just booked me for 5 more of those. So things are happening. The TV show is going to go back into production. We've been off for like the whole summer. We're going to go back and do some more episodes. I just keep trying, just keep doing it. Voiceovers. I'm in the voiceover studio all the time.
Know what you're talking about. Absolutely. All right. Well, we have been talking to comedian and singer impressionist Scott Record. He is currently in the Amazon Prime comedy Mark's Place. Go to his website to figure out where he's going to be next because he's going to have some gigs coming up. All you do is go to scottrecord.com and you can check out where he'll be touring next or what cruise ship he's going to be on. Hey, Scott, thank you so much for doing this. We had such a great time with you. You're a great guest, and we'll have you back on again.
I look forward to it. It was great listening to you guys. You guys talked about, you talked about more sports that you watched in the past weekend than I've watched in my entire life. So I hope I wake up.
That's because you have a life.
Start watching a little bit more. I think, you imagine, you were mentioning the old Boston hockey teams. I thought that Phil Esposito still played for the Bruins. So that's my sports head. You know.
He does.
Thank you,
Hey,
gentlemen.
Scott.
He thinks he does
Scott, if you're
too.
ever out- If you're ever out in Las Vegas, look me up, okay? Oh,
I'll be out there. I'm coming out. I will look you up. You'll know
Okay.
about it.
thank you.
Very good. We'll get you guys together. All right. Scott Record, everybody. Scott, thank you so much. All right, coming up, Fish and I are going to wrap things up here. Need a great golf getaway? The Myrtle Beach Golf Trail has dozens of courses along the Carolina coast. Set up an entire trip for yourself, your family, or a bunch of friends. The site is myrtlebeachgolftrail.com. You can play there year round. All right, Fish, that was great. We were having a little bit of technical difficulty, weren't we there?
Yeah, we did. His audio, it's gonna be rough. Yeah,
That's too bad. I
a
was
lot of
hearing
stuff
him.
didn't come across, and it's great stories. When but his impression of Dangerfield was great, and his whole story is great, and the fact that there's no openers. He's right. There's no openers anymore. And all the comments that come out. We could have Tony Visick back on again. They're not even dirty. They're politically correct. It's not funny. You have to be yourself. You can't silence your personality. And Scott's a guy who's been doing it. When you get a guy like that that's been doing it for decades, he knows the routine. What a great line. I had to go on for 19 minutes, and then Sinatra would physically pull me off stage. That's fantastic. Winner.
So, what's really interesting is the fact that he wasn't, there was a different genre there. The fact he wasn't in what we would call classic stand-up, that he was actually, he was with a band. He was a singing impersonator, and he was an opening act as opposed to being a comedian who would hit the comedy clubs. And I know he and I have been at a couple of celebrity golf events together. I would say back in the late 1990s, early 2000s. And I know he was great. He was very well loved, and he always put on a really good show. So yeah, it was fun talking to him.
Sure was. So John, talk to me now that we're heading into October, and you're more astute on this than I am. Tell me about some big golf events coming up as far as tournaments. That the Ryder Cup was the cream de la cream, but what's coming up in October, November?
Really, the big stuff is going to be the end of the European Tour and the European Tour Championship, equivalent to the FedEx. Usually the FedEx would go on now, but when we talked about the Ryder Cup, really there's not a whole lot going on on the PGA. They've got the start of the 2021-2022 season that's already started. And in fact, there's going to be in Vegas. They're going to have I think it's the Shriners tournament in Las Vegas. And those aren't a lot of points. So you don't get a ton of the big name players there. They'll start playing in January when they're in Hawaii, when they're on Oahu and Maui. So there's not a lot going on there. And Fish, I'll be honest with you. I think moving that schedule and ending it earlier, I think that helped and contributed to the U.S. winning the Ryder Cup by so much, because those players were, they were done with the season. Now they could concentrate on the Ryder Cup and treat the Ryder Cup like the Europeans usually do. So really there's not a whole lot of golf, you got to wait till January almost, as far as I'm concerned. That means practice making your Mai Tai.
Right. Well, next Tuesday, which is October 4th, I believe. Yes. I'll be in LA. I'm going to the Raider Charger game with some friends and family on Monday. Tuesday's the show. We'll preview the National Hockey League. It starts Tuesday. Believe it or not, it just ended in July, and it starts Tuesday, and the NBA training camp starts. So this becomes, we always talk about this, it becomes the part of the fall in the baseball play. Hockey starts on Tuesday, the baseball playoffs. I mean, wow. October's the best month, I think, in sports.
I agree. All right. It's great. Remember, Daly Fish is live from Vegas and Myrtle Beach. Catch us on Facebook at daily.fish.5, DB&A Television on Roku TV, Amazon Fire, and soon Apple TV, the DB&A Television website at dbnatelevision.com, and also on YouTube. And you can catch us on the Myrtle Beach Golf Channel as well. Write to us at dailyfish1@gmail.com. We're on Facebook at daily.fish.5. Let us know. Fish, another great show, buddy.
Thank you.
We will see you next week.